Okay, now that we have an idea of what GitHub and GitHub Desktop are, and we've got our GitHub account, and we've got GitHub Desktop installed, we're going to try to create and synchronize a new project. So first thing I'm going to do is actually go to my documents, and in here I'm going to create a folder where I'm going to keep my repositories. Now, you'll notice here I already have a GitHub Codrove, GitHub Mr. Velkamp. I actually have a GitHub account called Mr. Velkamp, and then a personal GitHub account called Codrove. So I'm going to actually create another folder called GitHub-fake student 7. Okay, and that's where I'm going to keep my repositories on this local computer. Okay, so just create that, create a folder for yourself so that you can keep your repositories in there. Then I'm going to go back to GitHub Desktop here, and we should also be able to search GitHub Desktop. Yep, we can launch it from there, but I still had it open from before. Sometimes I like to actually make a shortcut so it's pinned down here. Anyway, so let's start. They've got these things here. I usually just like to go to File, and I'm going to say a new repository. Okay, new repository. And we give it a repository name, and I'm just going to say testing, description, my first repository. Okay, and then I choose the local path, and that's going to be that folder that I just created. So documents, GitHub fake student 7 is where it's going to go into. Okay, this is an optional thing, create it with a README. I find that's a pretty common thing that a lot of repositories have, and it'll just initialize it with the name and the description in it. And you can edit that and add things to it later. It's often used to just describe what's in the repository, right? What's the contents of the repository are. And we'll just ignore this stuff because we don't need it, and we say create repository. Cool, and some stuff happened here. So current repository testing. I'm going to go back here, and we're going to go into here, and you'll see this folder testing. Awesome. And it put some stuff in here, that README, and then these .git files. I have it showing hidden items. You might not see those, but if you go to view and show hidden items, you'll see the .git folder. And this stuff is basically what keeps track of all the version control stuff, the different commits and changes that I make. Okay. So it's an empty project, but not totally empty. It's got the Git stuff we need and that README we initialized it with. Okay, so if I wanted to start programming with this, I could right click and say open with code, but even cooler is GitHub Desktop knows that that's my, remember we went to the options here? It knew that that was my external editor. So I can just go right here and say open in Visual Studio Code. And that'll open up my testing project, right? And it shows that's the stuff in there. I can create a new file, index.html maybe. I'm going to use a little Emmet boilerplate stuff, and I'll just give it an H1 testing. Okay, so now I've taken my repository, which is local to my machine, and if I go back here, you'll notice, hey, changed one file. I added index.html and I changed this stuff. Okay. And if I go to GitHub right now, you'll notice that, let's hit refresh, there's still nothing here, right? Because the changes that I've made have just been on the local computer. And I can do this commit to master. Master is just this master branch. That's a whole other topic with GitHub is branches, but we have one main master branch, and I'm going to commit this change. Create index.html. I can give it a description if I want, but I just hit commit to master. And now it'll show this history. There was the initial commit, and then this create index.html. And if I made some more changes, right, add some content, exclamation mark, and I hit save, I now go back to here, and if I go to changes, it'll say, hey, look, this plus sign, you've added some content here. It automatically did update index.html. Sometimes you have to do your own description, but I like update index.html. And I commit that, and now I've got 2 commits, right? But again, all of these changes and this history that it's giving me is just local to this computer. If I go to GitHub, nothing has changed here. Okay. So the way that we synchronize with GitHub is this big blue button here, publish repository, or you can click up here too. Okay, publish this repository to GitHub. So it says, great, I've got this version control. It's keeping track of all of my changes. But if I want to store this on GitHub so that I can also, access this code from any computer, I just hit publish repository. And we can give it a name, we can give it a description. We can choose to keep it private or public. For computing science, I prefer you to keep it public, obviously, so you can share your code with me. So make sure you uncheck that because you don't want it to be private. And then you can hit publish repository. And it does its thing, pushing to origin, and now last fetch just now. Now if I go back here and hit refresh, hopefully, yay, there it is, my repository, fake student 7 testing, and it shows me the code here. I can even click on that and it'll show index.html. Cool. So now a little bit on how to synchronize this. If I keep, let's say I delete this and I actually wanted to add an H2, some heading, and I save that. Again, right, this thing, GitHub Desktop, keeps track. It's watching what's happening, and it says, hey, look, you've changed something here. So I'm going to commit this again. Maybe I'll do a manual thing. Instead of update index, I'll just say, removed paragraph, added heading, commit to master. Great, 0 change files, but now it's giving me that blue button again saying, hey, you've got to make some changes here, right? So let's just double check that. If I go go here and hit refresh, right? This hasn't been changed yet. So I need to tell yes, synchronize between my local computer and GitHub. Okay, and it should update. And now if I refresh here, there you see it, it's updated. Now you technically can also edit files here. So I could go into here and say, paragraph. I spelled that wrong. Okay. And down below, so we make some changes. And again, we commit some changes. But this time I'm in the cloud, right? I'm on GitHub. I commit my changes on the cloud here. So I've added that paragraph. Now when I go back here, okay, so it doesn't show it right away, but if I click on this, it'll check. This is kind of like a refresh, right? It should check. It'll say, hold on a second. I have to pull one commit. Right down here, this is my file, right? It doesn't have that extra paragraph. So I've got to pull from the origin, from GitHub, and that'll pull and get that thing right here. So now when I go to here, ta-da, the paragraph's in there, misspelled. Okay, anyway, so that's super cool because now we can very easily, right? This GitHub Desktop totally keeps track of, hey, what's changed? Has anything changed on GitHub? Has anything changed on the local computer? And we synchronize those things just like that. Okay. One thing I wanted to try here that's super awesome is, like, let's say, for example, fake student 7, we're like, okay, I'm going to close this for a second. And it's like, oh, whoops. Oh no, I just deleted my whole thing and my recycle bin has a problem and I don't know why I can't get this back. What do I do? And it goes here and says, hey, hold on a second. I can't find testing. Locate. Well, no, I can't locate it because I deleted it. I know it's gone. But what I can do is I can clone it. Clone again. And that basically is saying, hey, I knew there was a connection, right? And it's back now. It basically took the code from GitHub where it was saved and brought it back, right? So it's connected and I can get back to where I was before and it keeps that whole history. Okay, anyway, that's creating a new project, right? File, new repository, and then making sure you publish it to GitHub and then you can synchronize back and forth. Okay, hope that made sense. In the next one, we'll look at creating a project from some start code or a template. Okay, take care and we'll see you in the next one.